All talk, no action. The Biden administration so far has threatened to impose sanctions on Russia after Russian leader Vladimir Putin ordered troops into 2 breakaway regions of Ukraine. So far, we have not heard from the United States, even as the troops are there in the 2 regions this morning. Senator Tom Cotton joined me on Sunday Morning Futures, outlining what measures should have been imposed already on Russia.
It's obvious the kind of sanctions we should impose. We should sanction Russian oil. We should sanction their minerals and their mining sector. We should sanction their biggest banks. We should impose secondary dollar sanctions on them as well. We should remove them from the international financial system. That would send the signal to China that we mean business and that there will be severe consequences if they attempt in Taiwan in the months or years ahead what Vladimir Putin is on the verge of doing in Ukraine.
Joining me right now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. He is a member of the Budget and Small Business Committees. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. I want to get to economics in a moment. But first, your thoughts on where the U.S. is in this conflict. Already we've heard from Germany. They've put a pin in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline certification because Russia has sent troops into 2 regions of Ukraine. We don't know if this is just a face-saving move by Vladimir Putin or this is the beginning of a full-scale invasion. Your thoughts on what the U.S. should be doing now? We haven't heard from Joe Biden yet.
We haven't heard from the president, and I'm not quite sure when we're going to hear from him. But the facts are at this point is that we're in a situation because of a lack of leadership from the president of the United States, imploring our allies in the region to stand firm against Russia. This should have been happening months ago. There's been no secret for quite some time that Vladimir Putin was going to move troops to those regions. There's been a strategy that has been thought out for a long time now about him actually recognizing these breakaway sections of Ukraine. But this even goes back to Crimea in 2014 when he did that annexation of Crimea. Where was Europe? Why were they even allowed Nord Stream 2 to get this far? Because of what had happened in 2014. Vladimir Putin understands that there is weakness in the White House, and he is exploiting it. That's why we're not hearing from Joe Biden. He's trying to work the phones to play catch up on a situation he was asleep on from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're seeing the markets react. Obviously, market stocks are well off of the lows of the morning. The Dow had been down 600. It's now down only 31 points. So the commentary coming out of the Ukraine, where the president of Ukraine saying we're not expecting war with Russia, very well might be moving markets and getting this volatility under control. But what about the volatility in basic costs like oil? Oil prices this morning are at $94 a barrel. And over the last year, nearly 1 in 4 Americans either reduced or sacrificed things like food and medication just to pay their energy bills. The analysis shows that 16% of Americans kept their homes at an unsafe temperature to lower their energy bill. 1 in 6 said that they were unable to pay the full amount, Congressman. So we're looking at an inflation story choking Americans right now. It's hitting their pocketbooks hard. And as a result, they're not even going for medical treatments that they need because they need the money to pay the gas bill.
No, you're exactly right. What we should be doing, and frankly, what we should have been doing the last year, is actually making sure our oil producers in the United States could drill for the energy that our country needs in order to continue to, not only just for our economy to survive, but for the cost of basic goods to not completely inflate. We should have been doing that. Instead, we're relying in part, yes, on Russia, importing gas and oil from them, and also from Canada. We should be doing it here at home. Part of the reason why we're seeing this spikes in energy costs is because you have countries like ours who are not putting a drill in the ground. We're not pumping out nearly what we used to. So the supply is actually smaller, but the demands for oil are going up because economies are turning back on as we move completely out of the COVID protocols in so many nations. Once again, poor economic plans, poor economic strategies from the president of the United States that hurts the pocketbooks of every American.
Congressman, who is going to give the response from the GOP to the President's State of the Union next week?
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I'll tell you one thing. It won't be me, Maria. I won't be giving that speech, but I don't know who it's going to be right now.
Okay, because I know last year at the joint address, the president's first joint address, Senator Tim Scott did it. I didn't know if it was the Senate or the House, but we'll keep watching that. And, of course, the State of the Union is going to be watched to see if he mentions fentanyl, wide open border, crime surging, inflation, all of these issues that you just mentioned that are important to the American people. We're watching to see if the president addresses any of it. In the meanwhile, we will watch if they address Putin's aggression this morning. Thank you so much.